So first thing first is you need to inform others. And by informing others, we are actually giving people the opportunity to come and pay respect to the Mayyat. And they can plan their time to come and do it as quickly as possible. The other important thing that you need to do is you need to inform your mosque or the Imam Barga about this funeral as soon as possible so that they can make the arrangement. Make sure when you call your funeral director at the mosque, you tell them where the body is, what is your planned day and time of burial, and where the burial is going to take place. You pass this information so that they can make the necessary arrangements. And I just want to point out one thing, that there is no legal requirement for you to have a funeral director. Anybody can take up the funeral director role. If you feel comfortable, you can do this work on your own, or you can come to your mosque and ask for the funeral director's help as well. The key contacts at Hussaini Islamic Mission for arranging the funeral arrangements are Moulana Maroofi, our resident alim, brother Israr Hussain Naqvi, who is our funeral director for the gents, and he's the registered funeral director with the council. Sister Farah Shafi, as you know, looks after the ladies. And we have got Ibn Ali uncle, who is looking after the hymn funeral membership, as well as the mission WhatsApp group is on the screen as well. Just want to point out one more thing, that the youth committee of Hussaini Mission has come up with this booklet, which has got all the information that you will be seeing on the screens today. So you can get this booklet after this presentation. During the breaks, you can get it. There is a suggested donation of £5, which is just a recommendation. If you can give it, that's really good to help us continue with this process. Okay, so the first step towards releasing the body is to get the medical certificate of death from the hospital. So if the death has taken place inside the hospital and the cause of death is known to the doctor, he will give you this medical certificate of cause of death immediately. However, if the doctor feels that the death was sudden or unexplained, they may refer the case to a coroner, and which may take up to 3 to 5 days for simple cases to determine the cause of death. For complex cases, it may take longer. And I just want to point out that if the coroner decides that he needs a postmortem, or if he needs to do a postmortem of the body, the family cannot stop it. Legally, you cannot stop it, but you can step in to say that we can pay for an MRI scan, which sometimes helps them to determine the cause of death. So if you can do that, that will also, you can make that offer, and sometimes it solves the issue and they can determine the cause of death. In extreme cases, the coroner may decide to put this case to a full investigation, and inquest needs to be done. In those circumstances, the coroner will give you an interim medical certificate for cause of death so that you can continue with the burial process. And at all these processes, you should mention to them that this is a Muslim burial, Muslim funeral, so that they know and they will expedite things to help you with the process. Right. So I just want to point out. So go ahead. Go ahead. From the religious side, Farah Baji and Moulana Kazim will cover that. I'm not qualified enough to answer that, but I'm just covering the legal side. Legally, we cannot stop. We can try our best to avoid it. In Hounslow, which occur in Hounslow, Ealing, and adjacent areas are actually referred to the corner office team, which is in Hammersmith. So they actually look after all this area. Right. The next bit is to register the death. Just like you have to register a birth, a death has to be registered in the borough in which it has taken place. So you have to make an appointment with the relevant registrar office to obtain the certificate of burial, which is also known as the green form, and the death certificate. Now, not everybody can go and do this registration. There are certain criteria who can register the death. Firstly, a close relative of the deceased can do it, or a person who was present at the time of death, he can go and do the registration. Thirdly, a person who is arranging the funeral. It may be the funeral director, it may be somebody else, but he can go and tell him that I'm arranging the funeral. Or the occupier of the care home or the hospital where the death has taken place, they can go and they can register the death. For registration of the death, there is certain information that you need to carry with you. Information like medical certificate for the cause of death, which would have been emailed to the registrar office directly by the hospital. If not, then this is one of the requirements. They should have in their system. Due to COVID, the hospital nowadays, at the time of death, they give this certificate copy directly to the registrar office, just email it. You need to know the full name and address of the deceased, the date and place of birth, date and place of their death. You need to know their occupation, and you need to know the name and the occupation of their spouse if there's if they're survived by a spouse, and whether the deceased was getting any state pension or benefits. If you know this thing, this is big, and this will be good as well. It is always good if you can carry some legal documents of the deceased with you, like the passport or the driving license, and a document which clearly tells you about their proof of address. If you can carry these things, those are very useful for registering the death. The registrations in Hounslow takes place at the Hounslow Registry Office, which is located on the Feltham Lodge. It's in the address is here. But due to COVID, currently all deaths are registered by phone. So you don't need to visit this office. You just need to call them, or you need to first book an appointment from their website, and they can actually call you back. Once they go through the entire process with you, they will then issue the certificate of burial, the green form, which will be sent to the funeral director by email from the registrar office. Two things that are often confused, that if this registrar office is closed, because they usually work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, if it is closed, what to do? Don't worry, because the council always have an out of hours registrar available on call. So you need to find the name and the contact number from the council website and call them. They will give you a time. Okay, I'll be there at the council office in half an hour, 20 minutes, or whatever. You go there or make the arrangement over the phone, whatever works for them. But they will then issue you with the green form. They cannot issue, the on-call registrar cannot issue you with the death certificate. For that, you have to go back afterwards, but at least you can carry on with the funeral process once you have the green form with you. One more tip is that when you go and get this death certificate given to you, try to get as many copies, 2 to 3 copies, because you will need it. And I will tell you where you need it, because in the coming slides I'll cover that. One important aspect is to arrange the grave. And for that, I will say that once you have the green form given to you by the registrar, or the registrar has issued it to the funeral director, you need to call the council cemetery office. And this can be any council. You can bury a person anywhere in UK once you have the green form. You can just call them, and you have to inform them that this is the death which has taken place, and this is I've got the green form, or the funeral director has got the green form, and we want to take you want to take this body to your cemetery so and so. The important thing here is that the cost of grave actually varies a lot, and it depends upon number of factors. It depends on the residential status of the deceased with respect to that particular borough, whether he was a resident of that borough or not. It changes the cost. It also changes on the type of grave that you want. Different councils have got different graves. Some council, like Hounslow Council, has got the shroud burial, and some have got the casket or the coffin burial, as we know, as a standard practice. So we need to know what type of grave we want and which particular cemetery. I've got some literature for the Hounslow Council available with me that I can share during the break, but we want to keep this presentation as generic as possible, so I'm not going into the detail costing of the any particular borough. Next bit is that you will be asked to fill a form, which is called the Notice of Interment. It basically covers the same information, like what type of grave you need, in which cemetery, the date and time of burial, details of the deceased, including their proof of address, and the name of the person who is purchasing the grave. The graves are purchased for 60 years. Basically, it's a 60-year lease, and it can be extended in batches of 10 years on expiry of 60 year initial period. The person who is purchasing the grave doesn't need to be the resident of that particular borough. He can be any person who can purchase it. It's only the residential status of the disease that matters, and that determines the cost. Please keep your funeral director, the mosque, informed all the time so that they can advise you about the different types and the timing and different cemeteries, and they can also use their contact to help you if there is any problem. One bit I just want to say, on the day of funeral, when you are going to bury the individual, just nominate somebody who can go and visit the cemetery beforehand so that you can physically verify the status of the grave. Because sometimes in the hurry of things, we think that council will take care of this. Sometimes things do go bad and you feel quite embarrassed at the last minute. This is the thing that you need to take care of all these things, or somebody responsible should be taking care on this behalf. And the whole purpose of today's presentation is to highlight all those pitfalls. Hanslow Cemetery office number is there in this booklet, so we'll share that. So next bit, once you have this grave arranged and you have got the green form, you can make the arrangements to transfer the body from the hospital to the mosque. This is usually done by the funeral director, who has to contact the hospital, and he can arrange the timing for the body to be taken away. Only the person who is mentioned as a funeral director on the green form can take the body. You need two things. You need the release slip, which was given by the hospital, would have been given to you at the time of death. And the other thing that you need is the information which is there on the green form. So these are the two things. They may say that the mortuary is closed and it's out of hours, but tell them this is a Muslim funeral, and there is a law by which all Muslims are allowed to gain access to a mortuary for a funeral. This needs to be authorized by the hospital supervisor of the day. So what you need to do is that you need to just call the bereavement office beforehand and tell them that we need to take this body. Now we have got the form, we have got everything, paperwork is all ready. Whatever time you want, you just tell them this. We want to gain access to the mortuary at this particular time, and they will abide by it because this is the law. And lastly, after Usul Kafan and funeral prayers, which may take at the mosque, the janazah is driven to the graveyard for the burial. Last bit I just want to quickly cover is cancelling the social records, and this is where your extra copies of the death certificate will come handy. There is a service called Tell Us Once, which basically covers number of government organizations, which will automatically be informed. If you just tell them once that this person has passed away and this is his record, they will cancel everything, including his tax liabilities, which HMRC, any pensions or benefits coming from the Departments of Work and Pension, his passport, driving license, all these things will be cancelled in one go. But in addition to these, there are things that you have to take care individually, like the bank accounts, the insurances, the mortgage, anything to do with that particular person, which bank will be cancelled straight away. As soon as the bank account is cancelled, even if it is your Wi-Fi, it will be cancelled. It has to be transferred. So you need to work with all these different stakeholders individually. And lastly, not many people know that the UK government actually pays a bereavement support allowance to surviving spouses for up to 18 months, but there is an eligibility criteria which you can check online. So this can give you some reassurance from the financial side for up to 18 months. So I will now hand over the roster to Sister Farah to take us through the religious side. Thank you very much.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Allah subhanahu